Let us discuss the 17th October 2015 newspaper. The most important news for the day, it is related to the NJAC, National Judicial Appointments Commission. We all know that the Supreme Court of India has declared the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act that has recommended for the appointment of NJAC as unconstitutional and void. On what grounds it said? The Supreme Court has majorly considered it as a compromise on the independence of judiciary, principle of separation of the powers, on its composition. The composition consists of law minister, and the second one is two eminent persons from the civil society. In this context, now the major litigant in the courts is the government. So, existence of the law minister in the selection of the judges will lead to conflict of interest. And second is, any two members, if they reject any particular person to be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court, then his appointment gets nullified. It means the government can enjoy veto if it can take the other people, two people onto its side. In this context, these two people are appointed by a committee consisting of Chief Justice of India, Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition. So, NJAC is giving a virtual veto to the executive. And also, the executive is interfering with the judicial function. So, from this perspective, the court declared it as null and void. Now, in this case, the counter argument is this. The court assumes that the judiciary has primacy in the protection of the rights of the citizens. Mr. Justice Chalameshwar, the other judge, he says, the concept of primacy itself is wrong. There is nothing called primacy of the judiciary was established in the Constitution of India. And the second thing is, the court argues that the civil society is not matured enough to extend or to make its role in the appointment of the judges. Mr. Chalameshwar says it's a disrespect to the civil society. And on the other front, what is the alternative we have, that is collegium system? Now the collegium system is filled with a huge amount of secrecy. In this context, can NJAC bring in transparency is one issue, and the collegium system is the right system to protect the independence of the judiciary. Now what the Supreme Court argued is this: the collegium system can be improved rather than scrapping it altogether. So in this context, it did not agree that the collegium system is foolproof now, but however, we can take the steps to improve this system further rather than scrapping it and building a NJAC which may compromise on the independence of the judiciary. Now, there is a beautiful conclusion in the editorial of Hindu today. Let's see that. An assertion of primacy. What he tries to say is this. We have to remember that judiciary remains the sole authority to decide whether a law violates the basic structure of the Constitution or not. So the primacy in the interpretation of the Constitution lies with the judiciary. We shall not forget about it. Now the entire argument of the appointment of judges, it shows that India hasn't learnt how to balance the accountability and the independence of the judiciary. So that is the transparent appointment system has to be a balance between executive patronage or should not have judicial nepotism. It means the independence of judiciary is vital. In this context, let us see, it's a very good article for comparative study, how the appointment of judges in the other countries. One common point, either in UK, US, Germany or South Africa, other organs of the government are also involved in the appointment of the judges. But India, other than judiciary, no other organ is involved. After the collegium system has come into existence, it has nullified the role of the President of India. And now, for a slice of history, It is about the disclosure of the Subhash Chandra Bose files with the government of India. Now the Prime Minister agreed to bring into open the Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose files. Now in this context, if you take all the Western countries, they have a mandatory disclosure of the information after a stipulated period of time, that is 20 years in US. In this context, why can't we have such a mechanism in India too, where a classified document can be brought into open after a stipulated period of time? So declassifying the official document after a stipulated time period has to be brought into India. This is what is my carry home point will be. And next is, it is related to Angus Deaton, who has won the economics Nobel. Now, it is all about of research interest. India focused work on poverty. And then he said good economics are based on good statistics, or good data is fundamental to good economics. And how he tried to correlate the poverty indices along with the demographic indices in India. So that is one thing. And the next is, the most important point which he said is this. Nowadays, we are talking about reducing the role of the state. Counter to this, he argued the building the capacities of the state. So the state means the government's capacities need to be built. What was his argument? In Western countries, the services and protections that people take for granted is missing in the developing countries. It means healthcare, education. These basic amenities are taken for granted in the Western societies, and these minimal protections are not available in the case of the developing countries. So that is what is a cause of concern. So in a good governance or in the today's market economy, we can understand one point. A country that has better governance, strong capacities of the state, they have gained more than the others. In the globalization era, unless you have the strong state institutions and capacities, the countries did not benefit much. Because the wealth which is created, this strong state institution made this wealth to be distributed. That is what is my carry home point over here. And with regard to social media, what this article argues is this. In the era of social media, there is a shallowness in discussion. And the social media, it has no rules. And all the blog spheres, they have no serious self-checking. In the print media, everything goes multiple levels of verification. But in social media, there is no such a verification of the information that is being posted. It means there is a good chance that social media can be used for a rumor, spread of the rumors. So it has to be protected against. And the next is R.K. Raghavan's article. It is related to the politicization of the CBI. Are CBI losing its legacy? Because the people are expecting the CBI, a supreme investigative agency in India, to be with highest integrity. Now, accusations and counter-accusations between the politicians on the misuse of the CBI shows that how vulnerable this institution is. Now, in this context, he gives a caution of word to the officers in CBI saying that any instruction from the minister concerned has to be taken only in writing. Then only ministerial responsibility can be fixed at a later date. If not, the bureaucrat has to bear the brunt or responsibility for a particular decision. So that's why written communication, maintenance of the neutrality, these are very critical for functioning of a merit bureaucracy. And next is the Nepal. Now with regard to India-Nepal relation is concerned, they are very complex, and also I can say that the Nepal is majorly dependent on India. We can describe this as an uneven interdependence. For its energy needs, for its trade needs, access to sea, Everything Nepal is dependent on India. So there is also a open border which is existing in between the countries. In this context, the indirect blockade against the Nepali constitution which is implemented by Indian government may not send the right signal, because the Nepali constitution was accepted by the Constitution Assembly with the required majority, and only certain factions among the Madhesis, they are dissenting that. India supporting these dissenting Madhesis shows that country is concerned about its own interests rather than the welfare of the Nepal as a whole, and which will be having very detrimental consequences on the psyche of people of Nepal, and it can fuel the anti-Indian sentiments. So in this context, the special relationship between India and Nepal shall not be unfair. In this, then only the people can have a good relationships between the countries. So this has to be understood. It's a long, well-established cultural relationship that is nurtured over years together, and this has to be protected, and the knee-jerk reactions do not help in these circumstances. And the next is sex ratio falls to 898. But however, I can contribute, or I can think about some major statistical distortion, because coming down to 898 within just 4 or 5 years, that is almost difficult, because it is based on the civil registration systems, and many people in India do not register the birth of their children immediately, and most of the births in India, they are not in the hospital settings or institutional settings. And the registration of the girl children is much worse than the boys. So this all makes the pattern of data collection may have led to this distortionary figure on the sex ratio. And Digital India complements the RTI. So we all know that if you want to effectively implement the RTI, the proactive disclosure of information is very much necessary. It means before someone has the information, we shall be able to deliver that. So in this context, the Digital India, it helps towards this automation of delivery of information on the online platforms, which can make the information to reach and get access throughout the length and breadth of the country. And next, Pakistan, Russia, they sign a gas pipeline pact. Now we know that as India is coming closer to the Washington, the Pakistan and Russia, they are coming closer to each other. In this context, Russia is about to invest $2 billion in the pipeline. So that is expected to be completed by 2017. So, because of this, that is, it's a part of North-South pipeline, I think. Because of this pipeline, which flows from Karachi, which connects the Karachi and Lahore, so a distribution network can be well established in the Pakistan. So let us see how it goes on. So these are the articles that are related to the today's newspaper. So with regard to the Russia and Pakistan, we don't need to worry much. Their relation is very much in the incipient stages. And thank you very much. And focus on the NJAC and accountability of the judiciary with regard to this article. And again, visit laex.in. If you want to revise the former or previous videos, try to visit that particular website and register in the website if you want to receive the daily current affairs updates directly to your email. And thank you very much and all the best.